setting a single row of a CellRenderer toggle to inconsistent. On GTK plus 3, I'm using a tree model to store nested information, and I display it with a CellRenderer text and a CellRenderer toggle. The user can click on every toggle button, and when there are nested ones and they are not in the same state, I want the ones of upper level to reflect the inconsistent state. How can I set this property for one element? I know how to set all the buttons of the CellRenderer to the inconsistent state with my CellRendererToggle properties. Inconsistent equals true, but it seems I can't access one single element from here. I know how to access a particular row of my tree store model, but I can only set true and false values. My code is fairly close to the official documentation, so you can help me with it. This URL, I use a tree store instead of a list store, and this is my code. Thanks. Edit. To answer Marcus. I can't figure it out. When I change the property of my CellRenderer toggle inside the function, it changes every row. Edit for the solution. As Marco pointed out, we have to set the property in every case. That's why I added the else part. I have to try again. I wonder, do we really have to do it manually? Can it be a feature out of the box of the tree view?
It is possible to set the property of one element via using a CellData function. Since I have done this only in C yet, I can only pass you the link to the documentation of PyGTK. I haven't seen the relevant docs for this feature for PyGarbject yet. For PyGTK is was documented here. This page gives you an example at the bottom. The use for CellData functions for PyGTK was also featured in this document. If, for example, you would like to do the same as in transmission, you could do the following. Since you receive the current iter as a parameter of the CellData function, you could loop through all of its children there and check the status of the children. You would then know which state to set at the parent node. Now the main point is that setting a property inside the CellData function will affect only this single cell, and not all elements of the tree view. I can give you also a visual example for my own application. I have the column value in this tree view. If the value inside the column menu element is set to enabled, and the value inside the column type is option, a checkbox is shown instead of text. I have highlighted such a row. The example image also shows an active search, which highlights search results. Both is possible with a CellData function to set the property of one element as you asked for in your question. Edit. I've done some example code. The main point is that the cell property is always set for every cell. So not just if, then set property, but if, set property like this, else, set property like that. It's based on the old PyGTK documentation, but it should clarify things anyway.
I've had the same problem recently and found that a CellData function is not needed if you prefer to set the property directly from a column in your model. The updates needed in the code from the question that will make it happen should be as follows. And then set the inconsistent value in the new column as needed. As a hint about when to choose a CellData function or a new column in your model, take the following into account, GTK plus by example. Your CellData function is going to be called every single time a cell in that renderer column is going to be rendered. Go and check how often this function is called in your program if you ever use one. If you do time-consuming operations within a cell data function, things are not going to be fast, especially if you have a lot of rows.
If you want to support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing.